Are you one of those people that absolutely hates the idea of giving a speech, that puts off preparing for it because you just can't stand the idea of standing in front of a group of people and presenting something? Well, today we're going to try to help you out. We're going to give you a few ideas and some different things that you might want to keep in mind when opening your speech so you can deliver a successful and awesome message. What I'm going to touch on today, number one, is how to command your audience's attention in the first 30 seconds. And this is primarily the area that we're going to focus on today. Hopefully this isn't going to take much more than maybe 10 or 12 minutes, whatever it is. But there's just a few key points here that I want to touch on as far as how you do that in the first 30 seconds. I've got a lot of experience as far as standing and presenting in front of primarily business-based groups. But it is something where I consistently get positive feedback. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that public speaking or giving presentations is something that I actually kind of enjoy. It's not something that I dread a whole lot. I try to get the audience engagement early. And if you do that, which obviously starts in the first 30 seconds, if you're able to do that, though, it makes your presentation just go smoothly. And it makes people actually want to hear more. So just make sure that you do put the preparation that's necessary into being prepared right out of the gate when you begin speaking. So how do you gain their attention in the first 30 seconds? How do you make sure that everybody's listening? So here's a few key points that I'm going to touch on. First thing that I'm going to say is confidence. Now, being confident standing in front of a group of people when you are panicking on the inside is perfectly normal. However, the way you're going to do that is, just because you're freaking out on the inside doesn't mean you have to show it on the outside. So the volume that you speak at, you want to make sure that you're loud enough for the entire room to hear you. You want to make sure that you're not too loud. But if you're going to err on the side of one or the other, make sure that you're too loud to begin as opposed to not being loud enough. Let people stand up and take notice when you begin speaking that, hey, this guy has my attention. This is somebody I want to listen to. He's a little bit different. What's he have to say? Because obviously it must be pretty important. Another thing that you want to do as far as being confident or demonstrating that is have strong eye contact. Don't stare down at your visual aids. Don't stare at your note cards or your PowerPoint that's up on the screen. Make sure you're making, especially in that first 30, 60 seconds, make sure that you're making adequate eye contact. If you have a couple key players in the room, make sure you're giving them a little added extra attention. Your eyes are absolutely critical, and you do not want to be caught or have the mindset that you're constantly looking down. Make sure you're looking at the audience, you're seeing the entire room. Don't be staring at spots on the wall, but just see the audience in general and make appropriate eye contact as you go. Eye contact is one of those things that whether you're standing there talking to somebody just directly one-on-one or whether you're speaking in front of a large group, eye contact builds credibility without question. Another thing you want to focus on as far as being confident, dress the part, look professional, dress for the occasion. So if it's a situation where it's a formal setting, then obviously you're going to be in a suit or other, appropriate attire. But just make sure no matter what the crowd or the audience is or the group that you're speaking to, make sure that you are dressed just a little bit above what you may need to be dressed for. Professionalism is key. It goes a long way as far as building credibility and in addition to that, building rapport with people. Make sure that you're dressed to the part. Make sure that you look professional because professional does go a long way, as I mentioned. Last thing, as far as confidence goes, just remain calm, remain cool, and just make sure you keep yourself, your thoughts in order. Don't let yourself start jumping ahead and panicking, saying, oh, I screwed that up. Here's one thing I would add on, when you do screw up in a speech, this is kind of funny, it's kind of off to the side here on a side note, but when you do screw up, and at the end of it, you look back on it and you're kind of losing sleep that night because you feel like you made a fool of yourself, here's a little secret that I'll let you in on. You're the only one that is remembering it. Everybody else has moved on from your mistake many, many hours ago. It's not something that people focus on. We, as human beings, obviously have a tendency to really focus on our screw-ups. Don't let yourself get caught in that. It's not worth it. Trust me, people are not remembering your screw-up if it was just a minor, you messed up your line or you messed up whatever product demonstration, whatever it is you're giving your spiel on. People aren't thinking about it after you're done, I can assure you. So just make sure if you do make a mistake, just move on. Don't, if you want to laugh at yourself a little bit in the time, by all means do it. But don't dwell on it. You're the professional. Move on. Mistakes happen. You're human. So don't focus on it and lose sleep over it. So moving on from confidence, as far as the first 30 seconds, be unique. Now, what do I mean by that? Obviously, being unique means different things to different people. So you want to make sure that you just set yourself apart from everybody else. Now, you can do that in a number of ways. Maybe it's how you open your speech. Maybe it's the first slide that you're going to put up there. If everyone's using PowerPoint, you're using Prezi. If everyone's dressed, poorly, you're dressed not so poorly. A number of things you can do. If everyone's opening with humor, don't open with humor. Just whatever it is, and I can't answer this as far as how you're going to be unique because it really depends on your audience and your situation. But just think about it as you're preparing. How can you set yourself apart right out of the gate that's just a little bit different? And I'm not saying you have to be, crazy off the wall different. I'm just saying be unique. Be yourself, but put yourself out there a little bit. Maybe just step outside of your comfort zone just a smidge and just do something a little bit different than everybody else is doing because it will get noticed. And again, you're trying to get somebody's attention in that first 30 seconds to hold them for however long it is you have to stand there and present. So by being unique, it just helps do that. Why do they need to listen to you? So this is one of those things as far as your credibility and, giving your experience. And there's a fine line here because you do not want to stand up there and give your entire resume on, your last 50 years of experience and the, life experiences you've had and why you're so good at what you do. And no, you want to be short, you want to be clear, and you want to be to the point. You want to let them know that you're qualified to speak to whatever it is you're speaking to, but don't dwell on it. Just touch on it briefly, and move on. Because here's the honest truth on this. People truly don't care necessarily what your life experiences are. They just want to make sure that you are indeed the person that is qualified to give them the information it is they're looking for. So clear, short, and to the point. Don't dwell on your experiences. Don't focus on it too much. Resumes are impressive, but a resume can be viewed after you're done as well. So just keep that in mind. If you have distractions when you're starting off, distractions can be actually almost a good thing because it gives you an opportunity to use something that very few people use when they're giving presentations or speeches. But silence can be one of your most powerful tools that you'll ever use. Because when you think about it, if you're in a room and all of a sudden it goes silent, what happens? Everybody looks up, pays attention. They want to know what just happened. Why is the room silent? If you do that, so let's say that you're up standing, starting off, and you're giving a speech, and there's a distraction. There's somebody off in the distance on a cell phone, but yet everybody's listening to the cell phone conversation. We've all been there. Everyone's like, "Good grief, what are they talking about? Why are they talking so loud?" If you just go silent, the eyes will turn to the distraction, and generally the distraction will take care of itself. After that happens, where does the attention go? The attention goes right back to you, which is where you want it. This is your opportunity. If this is a business presentation especially, you want the attention on you. Don't run from it. Use that opportunity. Use silence to your benefit. It will definitely get the attention brought back to you, and then you can move on. So silence is one of those wonderful tools that very few people use. Another thing as far as your first 30 seconds, humor. Some people like to open with humor. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it because I never generally can time. I definitely can't tell jokes. But humor can work, but just be careful on how you try to use it. Joke telling is not necessarily the best way to use humor, in my opinion, especially on opening a speech. Let's say, for example, you're in an office building. The elevator was absolutely slower than molasses on the way up. What in the world is up with that? I could have taken a nap on the way up here. If you have the opportunity and you get that early feel from the room that you have their attention, they're engaged, their eyes are up, you've hit a chord with them, they're interested in what you're saying, you can use humor. Even if it's not really that funny, you'll still get that little bit of a laugh, that you'll see those smiles. And when you get that, it's absolutely huge because it breaks the tension in the room. It now goes from your presentation being so much formal, it takes the ice off. It takes the edge off. It allows people to relax. It allows you, more importantly than anything, to relax. And it allows you to really get comfortable. And now you can hit your stride as you start really getting into the important stuff after your opening, 30, 60 seconds, whatever it is. It can really allow you to just relax and be yourself and deliver your message in a confident manner. So humor can work. Not saying don't ever use it, but I am saying if you're going to use it, just be careful when you use it and how you use it. Last thing I'm going to touch on as far as 30 seconds, 60 seconds on opening when you're giving your spiel, visual aids. Now this is one of those things that so many people make a mistake on, because what do visual aids do? Visual aids absolutely take the attention from everybody you're trying to speak to, and it distracts them, because where do their eyes go? It goes right to the visual aid. So if you have a PowerPoint on screen, guess what? They're reading the PowerPoint. If you're doing handouts and you've handed something out before, their eyes are down in the paper. They're reading whatever's on the handout. So you have to be absolutely cautious when you use visual aids. I'm not saying you can't use visual aids, but you just want to be careful. PowerPoint is boring for the most part. There are effective PowerPoints out there, and we can get into that later, but you have to be careful not to, and if you are going to use a visual aid, make sure you don't put too much information on it. You want the information to come from you, so keep that in mind. But do not lead your speech with PowerPoints right out of the gate, because you will not have the group's attention. That is just guaranteed. I can absolutely say that without any hesitation whatsoever. On your PowerPoints, if you're going to hand something out, ideally wait till the end to hand it out. Don't hand it out early, because again, their attention is leaving you and it's going right to whatever it is you handed out. If you are going to hand something out, make sure you have somebody else doing it for you while you're still speaking. Keep their interest, keep their attention, keep their eyes on you, and then when it's appropriate, make sure you've planned it ahead of time on where your handout's going to work, and then go ahead and issue the handout at the appropriate time in your presentation. If you have the audience's attention, the handout isn't going to be a distraction. If they're bored and they're looking for something else to focus on, a handout is absolutely going to give them excuse, give them the thing that they want, anything to get their attention off of you so they don't have to listen to you because you're boring. So be careful, be cautious with your handouts, and make sure, one other thing on handouts that I'll say here, be professional. This should go without saying, but it comes back to you. How you look, your handouts also. Make sure they're polished, make sure they're professional, make sure they look great. Use color. Do what's necessary with your handouts to make sure that you're coming across in a professional manner. So in wrapping this up here, I've went a little bit longer than I wanted to. Time kind of flies when I get on my rants. But just to kind of restate everything on speeches. The first 30 seconds is critical. Make sure you come across as a confident individual. Make sure that you let the group know early that you're in control. You want to be in control, and make sure people have a reason to listen to you. You're qualified. You've told them why you're qualified, but you haven't done overkill with it, and now you're ready to move on. You look good. You look professional. You're unique. You're a little bit different, and everybody in the room all of a sudden steps up and says, wow, this is actually interesting. I want to listen to what this guy has to say. So that's everything I kind of have to say on this spiel. Again, it's something people have kind of asked me for feedback on in the past, so I thought I would just throw these ideas out there. If they help you, wonderful. If they don't, that's okay too. There is no definitive right or wrong way to give a speech by any means. Take bits and pieces from different people that you think do a good job with it. Watch YouTube videos, whatever it is, and just use what works for you. Be unique in how you kind of come across with your message, but just make it your message. Don't try to be like everybody else out there just because everybody else out there is doing the same thing. Do something different. That's actually what's going to set you apart from the group. So I want to thank you today for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to, or comments, feel free to leave them below. But thanks for your time, and thanks for watching today.